Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you like that?
No.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome, all you aquarium lovers, to our episode of Fish Tank. Yeah, I Drink Your Podcast has a sequel to Finding Nemo. Just kidding. Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome to our adventure through 2010. Please take a moment right now to rate us on Spotify. We're going to keep bugging all of you to do that. Do it. Just do it already. Give us that 5-star review. But joining us today is my wonderful co-host, Ben.
Should we do this thing from Justin McCain style and actually try to find how Fish Tank is like Finding Nemo?
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
I also have my wonderful co-host, Brandon.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going?
And we have two special guests from Book Retorts. We have the lovely Danielle.
Hello, everybody, again.
Yeah, welcome back.
Woo!
And the lovelier Sam.
Hey.
Hello? And I'm sorry, you can probably turn this off now, I understand. I won't be offended.
What?
No way. No way. They want to hear your take on this movie, Sam. This movie that we watch, which is Fish Tank. And if you wanted to watch it also, you can find it on AMC Plus or the Criterion channel, or for free with ads on Tubi and Plex.
There's a Criterion channel?
There is.
Of course there is.
It's criteriorific.
Stop.
I did warn everyone at the beginning, so I'm not going to apologize for any of this.
No, give us all the jokes. All of them. We love them.
In fact, I think with Sam here, I think we all need to be drinking seriously. So let's go to Brandon. Brandon, what do you got in your glass today?
I just got water. Just water. I'm sorry. I
know, it's perfect theme.
Tie it in, Brandon.
You know, it feels like I feel like the girl that got tossed in the river, or that's how I feel.
Oh no!
Spoilers.
Danielle, how about you? What do you got in your glass?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm used to Sam, so I also have water. Something I think that girl could drink more of. She certainly is going to have some organ damage later in her life if she doesn't drink more of it.
No liver at all.
Well, I went with an alcoholic drink today. I have myself a statutory grape.
No.
Which is...
No.
We went very different directions.
Yes, we did. Soko, blue curacao, grenadine, and sweet and sour mix.
Get out.
It's purple. It's like grapes.
It's definitely purple.
Sam, please tell me something less awful than that.
I went not very creative. I got to admit, I apologize. I wasn't on Ben's level tonight, but I just went with a Scotch because as much as Scotland might not like to be part of the UK, they are. And so this movie took place in the UK, and so I figured I'd try something from that region, ostensibly.
What if Sam had jumped in with something even more gratuitous than mine, like sex with a 15-year-old?
I mean, come on. That's a weekend drink.
You're right. You're right.
Oh, that's terrible.
Emily, so what do you got?
Well, I am feeling kind of wholesome with my drink. I kind of decided, you know what was very prominent in this movie? Hip hop. Hip hop was super prominent in this movie. So I had to honor one of our ascended hip hop pantheon members, as my husband calls it. So I am sipping on some gin and juice. Thanks, Snoop Dogg.
Nice.
Danielle, please tell us what's going on with Book Retorts. What's happening recently?
Yeah, so we just finished up a epic 4-part extravaganza of a book called Fool on the Hill by Matt Ruff that Sam was recapping in all of its glory. It's a weird one, everybody. I highly recommend a listen. It gets progressively stranger and stranger. And episode 2 in particular. Is it 2, Sam, where I can't remember anything? Or is it 3? It's episode 3 where I can't remember the entire plot of the book and I have to recap it.
The fact that you can't remember what part you can't remember, I think speaks volumes.
It's a good one. So yeah, I would recommend catching up on that one if you haven't already.
Great. Well, Sam, we haven't had you on for a while, so we missed you, buddy. Glad to have you back. We in IDYP don't really have a ton of time in our life, so would you be willing to sell us on something you've watched recently, and maybe preferably something that's not highlighted in Book Retorts, because there's some weird shit there.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't wish our Book Retorts content on you, at least not for your down and pleasure viewing, not your podcast viewing. Some of it's great, though. I mean, I'll be honest, we had a lot of fun with it, but
it's better to listen to it sometimes, right?
Sometimes, sure. I'm not going to say you shouldn't listen to our podcast, but as Danielle coined the phrase, don't judge a media piece by its podcast. So don't take our word for it. We're not LeVar Burton here telling you about what you should or should not read in the library. But what I did watch recently that I would recommend is a Taika Waititi film, Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So you may have already watched it. I rewatched it recently with my family. It's an excellent little film about the Maori people in New Zealand, some of the native people, and sort of their feelings and how they sort of deal with trauma. But it's also quite funny and heartwarming in a lot of ways, because Taika Waititi is very good at having that kind of goofiness in it, even though it's dealing with serious subjects. So it's a fun film, it's a impactful film, and it's good. It's a good watch.
Yeah, if you're listening to this episode 5 years in the future, that episode just came out. So go ahead and give that episode, Hunt for the Wilder People, a listen, because we will be doing it on this podcast.
Can I watch it now and then forget about it 5 years later?
Yeah, I know how your brain works, or doesn't.
Okay.
It's a good power to have.
It's a Danielle power.
Yes.
I didn't want to say it.
Well, Fish Tank is currently at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes and was number 65 on BBC's Top 100 Films of the 21st Century. Obviously, that we're only 20 years in, but number 65. And this movie is also officially part of the Criterion Collection and won the 2010 BAFTA for Best British Film. So this one is heavily lauded. And our director of this movie is Andrea Arnold, who won an Oscar for Best Live Action Short Film for the short Wasp in 2003. And this was her second feature film after Red Road, which came out in 2006. So still getting her feet underneath her with this movie. Also getting their feet underneath them is Katie Jarvis, who plays Mia in this movie. She was discovered by a casting director arguing with her boyfriend at a train station. And this is her first acting role. And I think it's important to note for this movie that she was 18 at the time of filming.
Makes me feel a little better.
Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah, it does.
Also in this movie is Michael Fassbender, who is gorgeous in this movie and outside of this movie. He appeared in many TV movies and shows in the early 2000s before appearing in 300, Hunger, and Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, he was in that?
He's so good in Inglourious Bastards. That
I guess
scene
I
is
do
one of
have
my
to
favorites.
watch that movie.
Oh,
then.
yeah, he is in it. He is in it. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
You know I like you, Mia.
Well, why did you leave then?
You know why. Yeah, you're 15 years old.
What does it matter if you like someone?
Had any of us seen this movie before? Actually, let's start there.
No, I hadn't.
Nope.
Never seen
Awesome.
it. Never even heard of it.
Well, Emily had not seen this movie, obviously. So, Emily, what did you think this movie was going to be about?
I've seen it 100 times. Just kidding.
That says a lot more about you than you think it does.
Right, I know. As I hinted at earlier, I said, hey, it's Finding Nemo 2, not Finding Dory. But I 100% thought that this is what it was going to be about. I knew nothing about it besides the name, had no idea who was in it, didn't even know it was British. So when BBC popped up, I was like, what? So here's what I thought. Fish Tank is a mockumentary which tells the story of an overly enthusiastic marine biologist that wants to recreate the story of Finding Nemo by helping a lost fish find its family. The film crew follows this marine biologist on their mission to find fish tanks in Australia's offices with oceanic fish in order to free them back into the wild. And of course, there's gonna be some sort of place where the marine biologist is underwater is trying to speak to fish. Is this your son? Is this your daughter?
I want to say I really appreciate you bringing the mockumentary into this because we have had a dearth of mockumentaries lately. Like, where did they go? They used to be all over the place. So I think we're due.
You know, that one reminded me, I think that movie, Emily, deserves the entire cast of Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Like, it should just be a sequel to that, basically. Like Bill Murray as a marine biologist. Film. Well, not quite what this movie was about at all.
Not in the least.
Not remotely, no.
Brandon, what was this movie actually about?
Well, this movie was actually about a 15-year-old girl named Mia who's at war with everything. Her family, her school, the girls in her estate. Her one release is actually dancing. It's a passion that she practices in secret. One hot summer day, her mom brings home a mysterious stranger called Connor who promises to change everything and bring love into all their lives.
And he does.
Nope.
Definitely.
Nope.
I gotta say, just as a preface before we get into the details here, I think this movie was very well made. Like, technically, it was well done, well directed, well acted, all of that. But I do not think it was particularly enjoyable in the sense that it deals with a lot of difficult topics in hard ways, and it's not a movie you watch to have a good time. So
that's a good way to put that.
Yeah, this is not a movie you throw on at a party.
Right. This is a movie.
Fish Tank.
No.
This movie, as we'll get into, I'm sure, in great detail, deals with a lot of difficult truths about the world. Somewhat predictably, unfortunately, because it's just like, oh, everything's going to be shit, and so we're going to see everything go to shit, and everything that is good is going to end up being shit in the end. So that was pretty obvious from the start. But it is relentless in its negativity in a way, so you just got to make sure you gird your loins for that.
Danielle, what were your first thoughts?
I found the first half really boring. This is terrible. I also think it was super well made and visually interesting and had a lot of it was very lived into a 15-year-old perspective, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. But the first half of me, I actually looked at my phone several times and like, I wonder what's happening on Facebook, and like paused it to see how long it was. And then after the midway point, when all the stuff kind of breaks down, I actually found it much more interesting in the latter half of the story. But yeah, it's a difficult watch overall. I would agree with everybody's sentiment on that.
Brandon, did you find it difficult to watch as well?
Just one particular scene, but up until then, it was something that I was.
Was it the sex scene?
Yeah, because I was.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I was at. Here's the bad thing. I'm at my other job watching it, and like I think the guy like a guy I work with, he's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna leave." My face was like, ugh. Because like I got to that part, I was like, no, and then
just to clarify, which sex scene?
Oh, stop, Sam! Stop. We know which sex scene it is.
Amanda almost answered it though. I almost answered that question, but I think up until then, it just felt like it was like a coming of age story to me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was done really good. There's a lot of like diegetic music in it, which I really like in films. It's something that doesn't happen as much anymore. So I really liked it. I particularly liked the end, the very end with the daughters and dancing. I liked that part.
I gotta say, as a coming of age story, I felt there was too much coming and not enough aging.
Oh God! Oh my God!
See what I put up with, you guys? Like, I
know, Danielle,
so
I swear that you and I are in the same boat every single day that we record with our co-hosts, because I swear Ben does this shit to me all the fucking time too.
I found the movie really difficult to watch too, but that was because the dancing was so bad.
It was bad.
Are you talking about the beginning when
the beginning
Mia
especially
is immediately like looking at all of these fucking idiots dancing and she makes that funny face at them and they're like, what? And then she like totally smashes a girl's face in with her face. Oh.
Is she supposed to be a good dancer in this movie, the girl, Mia?
I don't know. For a 15-year-old trying to mimic, I don't know, early 90s, early 2000s dancing, I think it's as good as she possibly can get with no training. Oh, Ben disagrees.
I'm trying to put myself back into that point of, early 2010s, late 2000s. If you had access to YouTube, you could learn any dance move you wanted. I had the DVD for what was the guy's name? But it was all like the NSYNC choreography, and I had the DVD so that I could learn it all myself. So like I was throwing down moves just based off of that learning, and I'm self-taught and self-mastered, and I just feel like she could have been better with the resources she had. She had MTV. Cribs was on in the background. She had MTV.
I mean, I kind of feel like the dancing or the quality of it was sort of besides the point in a lot of ways. Like this movie, as I like to call it, Bad Decisions, the movie, felt to me like we talked about it being a coming of age story and we talked about the dancing, but like I feel, and I could be wrong, but that there was very little arc to the characters in the sense of like I didn't really see a lot of character growth, even though a lot of things happened. And maybe I'm not understanding the perspective of a teenage girl well enough, which is completely fair because what do I have in common with teenage girls except nothing? But when I got to the end of the movie, my thought was, what happened? Like, what was the like arc? Did anybody learn anything? Did anybody change in any substantial way? It felt very slice of life in a way.
It felt to me more like a prison escape movie almost, where the arc isn't necessarily about the character growth. The arc is about her recognizing that she's like in this trapped state and like trapped by the people around her, trapped by her circumstances, and is going to then break out at the end of her own energy. Like, I'm going to use my dance to break out of where I'm at.
Well, that's interesting because like, she doesn't, though, because she goes to the dance audition and just leaves and doesn't actually follow through on it. And she ends up just running off with the random guy she's known for 2 days. So,
but she still escapes.
I mean, I think that's making an assumption, though, because this is sort of
Sam
my
is
question.
skipping on some nuance here.
You mean my 30 seconds of summary is missing some of the nuance of this 2-hour movie? I'm surprised.
The one thing I did notice is that when she first said you guys don't know how to dance, they're kind of all the girls that she was next to were doing all this whole like sexy dance and stuff to like more I guess like modern music at that time. Then when she's dancing to Rakim, which is like early 90s hip hop, and she's breakdancing. So right then and there, I was like, okay, she's different. She's not dressing like these other girls. She has on full sweatpants all the time, so she has the whole like b-boy feel to it. So to me, she was just different, I think. And she didn't really click with anybody because she had those differences. So by the time it gets to like when Fassbender shows up and her mom and her sister don't want to jump in the water, she's like, well, I'll go. That's like, she's already different. Like she doesn't fit in that particular, I guess, bowl of fish, if you want to call it. Like those
like
are
a fish
You mean
tank?
like a tank? Emily.
There we go.
We figured out why the movie's called The Fish Tank. Oh my gosh, Brandon, you're a genius.
Was that a mystery? It seemed pretty obvious.
Yeah, come on now.
It felt like at the end, like she was different enough to be like, I'm able to make, this isn't where I want to be. This is where I belong. So she kind of moved on. So I kind of felt like she was always the odd one in the whole film.
Now, maybe I was just not in the right state of mind when I watched this, but I felt very differently about her character. And I sort of saw her a lot of the time as impulsive and, not thinking things through and reacting emotionally very strongly to the slightest provocation, sort of,
you don't spend a lot of time with 15-year-olds, do you?
I was gonna say that was my entire 15-year-old.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's who she was.
Right.
And at the end of the movie, she was still reacting impulsively, running off. Like you said she's escaping with this guy, but she's taking this guy. She's going on this massive trip to Wales with this guy she's met. Like she's literally running away from home with him, and she's known him all of 2 days. And like, it still feels like the same kind of impulsive, not thinking things through, not trying to like maybe, you know, again, I agree with you that her situation isn't great and she should find ways to escape that. But it seems like she's jumping from one impulsive situation to another one where she has no control.
But you're really focused on the whole her growing as a character. I kind of agree with Ben on this, where she is trying to break free and get out on her own and finds the one opportunity to latch onto. Like, looking at her home life in the beginning, she loses her only friend. That's the vibe we get because all these girls are bullying her / you know, she's instigating it, but whatever. She is physically and emotionally abused by her mother. We see it immediately. The environment that she and her very young sister are growing up in, like the amount of times the word cunt is thrown around. Like, I know that it's a little bit different in the UK, but at the same time, it's like you see Tyler, her little sister, smoking. What is she, like 10?
Yeah.
Ben, is Ellie smoking?
If she is, she's hiding it really well.
Right. You know, they're all drinking. And like, again, just the living situation that they are in, you can tell right away that she has grown up in a place that has made her feel isolated and alone and miserable.
No, I mean, that's 100% correct. I agree with everything you said about her situation. I'm just not convinced that at the end there, she's going to a better situation.
Oh, I don't think she is
right?
either.
So, I mean, it's, you know, out of the frying pan into the fire type of situation. Is it really being a better place if she's going from her abusive family to going with this guy who was the least aggressive of her potential rapists at the beginning, which is not exactly the best in character endorsement for this guy.
I don't know if it adds anything to it, but I've almost felt like kind of in the middle of where you two stand, in that I felt like the ending, I don't think, was supposed to be like a huge step for her. Maybe just a little step for her. Like, and whether or not that opens up possibilities or doesn't, maybe she's just, as you said, moving kind of laterally from one position to another. It just felt like she had instigated some kind of possible change. Like the possibility of something happening was kind of my takeaway from the end of the movie, I guess.
No, I think that's totally fair. That it's a very small change. But, and then I guess my feeling is, and why did I spend 2 hours of this movie to get a very small resolution? Like, I don't know. It felt like the movie was building to something more. Like all this conflict was happening, especially towards the end, like you said, in the latter half where things were really starting to get exciting. And then it kind of just sort of ended.
But that's life, isn't it? I mean, things don't actually have usually some kind of grand finale. And then you're like, oh, and now I'm 15 and a half and life's completely different.
No, that's fair. That's life. But like, movies are not life. We all know they are stories. Stories are constructed in such a way to convey something to people that are watching them.
But this was a very lived in story. I think it was supposed to be, like you said, slice of life. I'm not sure it was supposed to be a big story.
Right. I'm getting that slice of life. I'm saying that I felt like it was a little, for me personally, a little, like you said, boring at the beginning. And then all this stuff happens and it was very difficult to watch all of that. And at the end of it, you're like, nothing's happened. I don't really know, like, if I should be taking anything away from this film other than that, oh, this person's life is sucky and looks like it continues to be sucky. And great, thank you. Now I've understand their life a little better, but that's about it.
There was parts of this film that kind of, and I'm not saying that you can compare it to this classic, but it kind of felt like it was certain spots. It kind of felt like the 400 Blows a little bit, to where there's a spot where that character refuses to win the race. They're kind of breaking the norm of whatever this particular part of society is. So she's in this spot to where this is what everybody does. And to me, at the very end, it kind of felt like it was obvious that her mom used to be a dancer too, because they're all doing the same dance moves. So it's like, by her not doing this now, is breaking something different to where she's not going to be a product of that environment. It's like the kid in the 400 Blows. He's not going to be this guy that you want me to be. I'm going to be my own person. So I think by her actually moving on and getting out, even if it's a tougher situation, which I think she's like, I know at 15 you're not really prepared for anything, but I think if anybody was mentally tough enough at that particular point in time after everything that's happened, it'd probably be her. I think like that moving on to something else was going to be better than her staying where she was at, because she would have been.
That's a really good point.
she would have been those girls that were dancing. Because when she walked in and she was like, this isn't what I want to be. And I think that's where the whole, like, it's like a slight turn. And I think seeing that slight, because everybody has these slight turns in life where it's like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. You wake up one morning and stub your toe and be like, you know what? I'm not going to this job anymore. I hate it. And that's going to be it. No, and then you make the turn. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what, like, even though her turn was a little bit more drastic, but her realizing that, like, all right, I don't want to be a dancer. My mom was a dancer. You know what I'm saying? My mom drinks. My mom sleeps with these random guys. They have day parties and everybody gets drunk and starts following each other. Like, I don't want to be a part of that. So that's what it was. And I think that's why that one little subtle turn for her, I think it made a difference. And I think that's the whole coming of age aspect of it that I liked.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have delusions that she's moving to something better. I think it's just now a shitty situation that is at least of her own making and something that she can live with then.
You know what? I can accept that. That is a very interesting and fair interpretation. Maybe I'm too far removed from being a teenage girl again. Like I said, that I don't really appreciate fully the steps that she is taking, but I don't know. I mean, I also feel that there was just a lot, like I said, there's a lot of negativity in this movie from start to finish. It felt like it was almost like I said, relentless. There was very little levity. There was very little humor. And I guess it sort of made it feel a little dour to me.
Well, I feel like the part of that is from this being shot in a 15-year-old's lens, right? So having that choice where we are literally seeing how her jaded view of the world, that's how 15-year-olds are like, especially when they have no friends. I see it every day as a teacher. They really captured the essence of who Mia was and how she saw the world, even in such interesting shots and perspectives of how she viewed the world. Like there would be times where it was so focused on her where she couldn't see anything around her. Everything was just claustrophobic and stuck around her. And I loved that about it. I felt like it really made me remember what it was like being a dramatic 15-year-old, even though I didn't have such a shitty life.
I think that perspective is so narrowed too through the eyes of Mia that you view all of the characters in her world through her eyes. So, and I don't know about you guys, but for the entire first hour of this movie, I thought Connor was just a really good guy.
Really?
Yeah, I thought he was a good guy. Like he was a little weird, a little too flirtatious with a child. You shouldn't flirt with a child at all. Let me go on the record as saying that, Brandon.
Do not flirt with children.
Once he picked her up and put her in the bed, I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I don't know, because I didn't know how old she was.
It was sweet, but also the pants
off.
Probably could have stayed on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, that part was creepy. I'm like, oh, don't know about that. I probably would have just took the shoes off and just like threw a whole blanket over.
I don't know. Maybe I'm jaded, but I saw Connor and I'm thinking about like this, like maybe I just was going into this with a negative mindset, because it was early and I was trying to get through it for the podcast and everything. And probably not the best way to take in a movie of this complexity and subtlety, but I saw Connor. I'm thinking that immediately reminded me of books like Nectar and a Sieve, where it's like a family starts out one way and then things get progressively worse and everything always ends up being worse and worse and worse. I saw Connor, I'm like, oh, he seems like such a nice guy. He's definitely going to sexually abuse one or both these girls and probably has a secret family. And I'm not a genius. Like, I'm not very smart when it comes to but it just seemed like, oh, this movie is going to make him, start out by making him seem like a father figure and then have the heel turn at some point, because that's the kind of movie this is, where everything there's nothing good. Everything always has to be bad.
When we first are introduced to Connor and he's wearing his jeans or jean shorts or something super low, and you just see like his very sculptured back and he's just kind of chatting with me and whatnot. Oh, I'm a friend of your mom's, shit like that.
Yeah.
I did not know who it was. I was not really paying attention to his general face because I was very focused on Mia, and I was like, God, this douchebag, like what the fuck, get out of here. I didn't realize it was Michael Fassbender until he opened the door to the party and I went, shit! Is that? And at that point, like my mind shifted and I was like, okay, all right, I'm interested in this guy now. I don't know. Maybe it's literally just him being Michael Fassbender. And I was like, I felt a little safer. But I don't know. It was a weird feeling to not know who it was and then realize just like a few minutes later it's a pretty well-known actor.
It's fucking Magneto, man. That's
Right.
what it is. It's fucking Magneto.
I assumed he was going to turn out to be a jerk just because story. But
yeah, exactly.
I thought he did a really good job of, there were scenes that just like felt uncomfortable and you weren't sure which direction it was, like the acting on it was so good. Like, because you felt, okay, is he being paternal or is he being too flirtatious? He tread that line really well during the movie until he got super creepy, and then he did not.
No, that's 100% true. Like I said, I thought that from the beginning, but he did keep me guessing through a lot of scenes. So like, full credit to the actors and writing for that.
Well, here's what I think we can credit that towards, and it's because of a directing choice that was made in this movie, which is they chose to shoot this chronologically. And the director made the choice of not giving scenes that weren't being shot to the actors. So the actors had to play it along that straight line, not knowing where their character was going to end up later.
Interesting.
I don't know how that makes me feel, knowing that you're going to pit a 15-year-old girl in the movie up against like this adult man with a secret family. Like that's their end goal. It's a little weird for me, but I think it worked out well. I just am like, the insides are squirming.
From what angle are your insides squirming? Like, as an actor, you would be uncomfortable with that?
Oh, I would be so uncomfortable. Like, maybe they knew that aspect going into it. I mean, obviously, the actress and the actor would probably want to agree to have, like, a sex scene ahead of time. But they only had 30-ish days. I looked up a couple of interviews. They had about 30-ish days to film this. So, filming it chronologically, you can't have time for mistakes and backing out, So it's, I don't know, I'm just heebie-jeebies over here.
I mean, that's very interesting about the production. And as I said at the beginning of this podcast, I think this movie was incredibly well made. I thought it, very well acted. The writing felt very real, and you felt right there, like looking through the lens of the girl, as Ben was talking about. So I seem like I'm pretty negative on this movie, but I think it's a great movie. But I want to be clear that it's a very difficult movie to watch. And if you don't think you would enjoy, if you don't think you'd get something out of that, like very subtle story and very slice of life stuff, it might not be for you as all.
Yeah, it's almost like something you've got to watch with a scholarly lens. Like you need to watch it to appreciate the film and not to go along on the ride like we've been talking about on this podcast. Like, I was just along for the ride on Shutter Island. Like, wherever you were taking me, I'm there. This is not a movie like that. Like, you are not here for that.
Right.
No, I definitely had the wrong mindset watching this movie. I'm like, oh, where's this story going? I'm like, oh, I'm just supposed to soak here and I'm supposed to sit here and soak in the atmosphere of this, housing development, the projects, whatever you want to call it, with these, British girls who are constantly trying to struggle to find their place or break out of the cycle. And I sort of, that went over my head. I just was sort of not prepared for that when I watched this movie. And I'm like, so I got down, I'm like, oh, I was in the wrong headspace for this. And that's on me.
Should have warned you, Sam. I'm
right.
sorry.
Well,
That opening scene, I was like, yeah, we in the hood right now. This is definitely hood. Like, this is I grew up in like the county, so I did not grow up in the hood, but I know hood when I see it. Like, this shit hood.
Oh, I grew up in the hood, and yes, it was very, I was there.
So, Brandon, with this being more of a scholarly watch, why don't you talk to us about a little bit of the lighting and the color usage?
You know what? I was getting so into the actors and stuff like that. I really didn't get a chance to break that down like I really wanted to. I only got a chance to watch this once, which kind of sucks.
And you're disappointed by it.
No, I like run and shoot. I actually like that whole handheld aspect of it. And it makes some people sick for all the bouncing around, but I like it because I think it's justified. I like when people are filming low light situations without actually having a ton of light. So even the scene where she kind of walks in on her mom and Fassbender, like on purpose, like that whole part where she walks out, but then the next scene that you see is her, and it's like that, just like kind of like glimmer of light across her face. I thought that was amazing to actually come up with that. A lot of the high angle shots, like when she's up in the, I don't know what you call those, like it's not really the sticks or like the towers she's in, she's like dancing and stuff. Even some of that stuff is really pretty to look at. But I didn't get a chance to actually be like, yo, frame by frame, I really like this frame, I really like that. This time I did not get a chance to do it because I think I was so into trying to see where this went. And so I wanted to feel this film a little bit more. Once I saw the trailer, I was like, all right, it's going to be something that's not going to be, it's going to be more artistic as far as the writing and the actors go, not so much as what the frames are going to be. Mm-hmm. So, and even though it was still direct, it was still shot amazingly, I think, for what you have. Particularly, I actually like the actual water scene too. When they're catching the fish, I really like that scene too.
Well, before we get into the good, bad, and weird, I wrote a letter today. It's a short one, but it gets to the point real quick.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's one person that really stood out in this movie to me, and I got to call this person out. Dear backflip girl, calm the fuck down. We get it. You can do a backflip. That doesn't make you special. 4 in a row? Who cares? I've done a backflip before. I even had a perfect landing onto my neck as planned. Call me when you develop real skills like all the world-class dancers I saw in this movie. Signed, Ben.
You're such a mean asshole.
It's for their own good. It'll break her free of the cycle of backflips.
Yeah.
He's trying to help her.
I really am. It's almost a PSA. Like, I believe in you. You can be more than just backflip girl.
The problem with backflips is, at least the way that they were doing the movie, is you just don't go anywhere. You stay in the same place over and over. It's a stationary cycle.
Well, it was a metaphor for the rest of this movie, Sam.
Well, we found it. Why did they call this movie Backflips?
Well, let's talk about who won this movie. Who would like to go first? The winner of this movie is...
It's definitely Katie Jarvis for me. I know that Brandon kind of talked about just like the acting in the story was more prominent rather than the shots. And that's saying something to movies. Brandon, you were like in love with cinematography and editing and filmmaking.
Right.
So when the acting is really important, I feel like the winner's got to be an actor. So I loved watching her be a 15-year-old girl. I felt like she really encapsulated the essence of what I see in these teenagers constantly at school. And even when I was a teenager back in 2010, not just her look, just the way she moved. I loved the scenes where she just like sprinted and fought, but also there were these quiet moments that I just loved. And I can't believe how amazing she was in this movie as a first-time actor, as an 18-year-old. You know, I couldn't handle how amazing that was. I felt for sure she had been in something else before this to get this.
And she really hasn't been in anything else after this either. Like, this is really just a one-hit wonder for her. Like, she steps in, did her job, and is out. I mean, my winner's kind of actor-related, too. My winner is Michael Fassbender's personal trainer. Because, like, well done, man. He looks so good in this movie.
I fucking hate it. He always looks good in everything. That's the bad part about it.
I had to give at least a partial winner to Taylor, or at least the actress who played Taylor as the child actress, because
Tyler.
Yeah. Tyler.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because any child actor that doesn't annoy me on screen immediately gets some props, and she did a really good job feeling very authentic as a 10-year-old who was also like trying to emulate these older people in her life while still being very young and vulnerable in that way.
Any 10-year-old who can deliver the line, "I like you, I'll kill you last," without laughing.
Yeah.
Best line.
Great job. Yeah. Absolutely. Straight from Commando, but still perfect.
Yes.
Exactly. So I had to give, I agree, Katie Jarvis, great actress, but I also had to give props to Tyler because of, that.
Danielle, do you have a winner?
Sorry, mine piggybacked onto Emily. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed how she kind of just bounced around like all 15-year-old girls do. They're just kind of torn in a lot of different directions and kind of not sure who they are, what they want to be, and they're emotional and kind of a train wreck every day. And I feel like it did a good job of her swinging between those positions depending on who she was talking to or what she was doing. And sometimes she was very adult, and sometimes she was very much a teenager, and making those bad decisions. It just felt very true to being 15, and that she's just such a wonderful actress for that role. I really enjoyed watching her do that.
Even though the cinematographer, even though I think the cinematographer killed it, Robbie Ryan did do a good job as far as the cinematography stuff goes. He's kind of known for Marriage Story, Slow West, The Favorite, that type of stuff. The acting is just way too good, I thought. And I'm a big Fassbender fan. I don't think the guy's ever done I don't think he's ever been bad in anything, even though some of the movies he's been in haven't been that great. He's always really good. And then I think that whole cast that was put together well. To me, it felt like they were very believable in a lot of senses of how they reacted, how they acted inside their environment. Especially the mom, like you could tell the mom was a young mom. You know what I'm saying? Like when she had her, because she's doing a ton of young stuff. So just even all that too is just I liked it a lot. I thought the actors are really good. Not taking anything away from the cinematographer, but the actors definitely. I really enjoy the actors.
I want to say a little bit more about Katie Jarvis because I mentioned that I really love some of the small moments with her. But there's this one scene, well, there's a lot of scenes where it's just that close-up of her face. And one of my absolute favorites is at the end when she's crying about the horse getting shot. And she's sitting on the ground and she just fucking loses it. And just the way her mascara is running down her face and how it's just so tight and so uncomfortable and heartbreaking. I loved that. Or there's a moment earlier when Mia's just standing outside on this balcony of her apartment complex and she's watching these kids play, and it really focuses on her and just what she is staring at, and you are pondering what she's thinking. And I loved those really small moments that were really focused on her.
My favorite scene was the one after Mia returns the daughter and Fassbender's chasing her down in the empty field. I thought that was so well done. And I thought it had like a little bit of a horror movie feel to it, like, because I didn't know what was going to happen when he caught her, but I knew he was going to catch her. And then the fact that he catches her and neither of them say anything, which I think is so important for that scene, because if either of them talks, they're both very clearly in the wrong. And I don't think there's any dialogue there that could have happened that would have, satisfied the viewer. So the fact that it's completely left unsaid, I think is just a phenomenal directing choice.
This is going to be controversial, but if we're talking about great scenes, I think the infamous sex scene between Mia and Connor is great. And not because what's happening is great. To be clear, as Ben said, sex with underage girls, not a good thing. Let's be 100% clear on that.
Illegal and terrible and fuck you all.
But the scene is, I think, to me, indicative of the entire movie in that it feels very real. It's very uncomfortable. Like you watch and you are uncomfortable watching that because you know what's happening and it feels so real and you're like, this is wrong, but it's happening and it's stuff that happens all the time and it doesn't make it any better. And so that sort of is like my representative scene of the movie in the sense that it feels to me like this movie distilled in the sense that it's uncomfortable and it's real and you just sort of have to be like, that's what this movie's putting forward.
To add on to that, I think a similar thing that happens in that movie is when she's over with the trailers and the horse and the guys come after her, the would-be rapists, as I think you said earlier. And that scene is like when she's trying to get free of them and you don't know quite what they want to do with her, is like every fear of like being cornered that any girl probably has ever had, where like just you're uncomfortable and you feel like you can't get away. And I think it's just like, it's like a really terrible sensation. And I think it's done really well in that. And the fight that she has to try and get out of that scene is like, it's a good scene. It's terrible, but it's a good scene.
Exactly. Yeah.
That dance scene that leads into the sex scene is interesting because even up to that point, my naivety was still very high and I wanted to believe Fassbender was still a good guy. So even after she gets done dancing and she like snuggles into him and he kisses her on the forehead, I'm like, great, like cut to the next scene. We're done. Like, I don't want to, like, we're not going there. And that was the turning point of the movie. Like, that scene is just built so well to be the clear decision point for Michael Fassbender's character. So, just a great build to climax, pun intended.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I actually knew Fassbender was trash when he didn't cook the fish. I knew right then and there. Like, how you gonna catch a fish and not cook it? Oh, he gets a phone call. Oh, I gotta go. I'm like, Fassbender ain't shit. Like, he's down.
The dog was eating it.
Yeah, come on, man. You just don't leave that like that. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat as you, Ben. I was like, okay, all right, we're done. Let's move on. And I'm sitting there watching it, and she turns her head to tilt up slightly, and I go, I know what you're doing, girl. Stop it. Nope, not happening. And then he starts moving in. And I'm like, nope. And I start screaming at my TV just as loud as I possibly can. My husband has his headphones on listening to Critical Role, and he turns around and looks at me, and I'm like, no! And I paused the movie because I was so angry. I couldn't fucking handle it. I didn't even know they were going to have sex for another 10 minutes because I was so angry that they kissed.
I want to agree with both Ben and Brandon here that, and everyone here, that with Fassbender's character, Connor, like, even though I was very suspicious because story and because of, how characters work, that he was going to end up being a heel, I really didn't want him to be. I was really hoping, even up to that moment, that he was going to make the right decision, that he was going to be a positive influence in these kids' lives. And I think it's a really interesting thing. Like, when you know someone's going to make the wrong decision, or at least suspect they will very heavily, but still want them to make the right decision, that feels almost parental in a way. Like if you're watching your kids, like make choices in their lives and something like that. That was a very interesting perspective as an audience for this movie.
Was there anything else that anyone wanted to call out in terms of favorite scenes, lines, shots?
Oh, I have a 2 cents to throw in. Ben, actually attaching to yours. You're talking about the kind of horror movie vibe to that one scene. I thought the other scene that did that particularly well is when she took the little girl out into the woods, and you're like, no, what are you doing? Take her back. Like, I was like freaking out.
What was her plan there?
I don't know what the plan was. It was very confusing, and I was really uncomfortable with it.
They were going to the ice cream store,
It
weren't
was
they?
like a horror movie. Yeah, yes.
My naivety was off the charts for this movie, let me tell you. I wanted to believe the best of all of them.
The trip just went awry. Yeah. I was afraid. I was very afraid to watch that scene. I was afraid it was going to twist into something much darker than I was ready to watch on screen.
The movie got me there. I thought she was going to drown. I was like, that girl's going to drown. She's dead. This is like, as soon as she took the girl, and as they set up that she can't swim earlier at the lake, oh yeah, this girl's going to drown. Spoiler, did not drown, almost drowned, but didn't quite get there. But so the movie did subvert my expectations there.
I just wanted to throw out one more scene that I just absolutely loved. There's a part where there's some low lighting. I think, Brandon, you talked about that earlier, but where Mia is dancing in that one room, and it's a silhouette of her at night. And all you hear is her breathing and the sounds of the city. And I loved that scene. Just hearing her try to work hard to be better and just seeing her persistence. And that was kind of the character that I fell in love with, even though I know there are tons of faults. That was just wonderful. And then also when she leaves the audition and there are all those mirrors, I loved that too. There were just like little moments like that I was like, oh, that was an interesting choice. And I loved it.
I thought a lot of the music was interesting too. So when you first see her dancing, like she's dancing to a Rakim song called "Know the Ledge." And it's a song from like it's off the Juice soundtrack with Tupac and Omar Epps. And it's like, okay, so she's dancing to this, and then like there's another time she's dancing to "Don't Sweat the Technique." And I'm like, okay, like she's kind of hip. So like then you kind of see like she's trying to be better. And then like the last song is like a Nas song. It's like That Life's a Bitch song with Nas and AZ, and it's like that's what they're dancing to. That her mom and her sister are all dancing to, and they have the routine. And then like I was watching like, oh, okay, her mom knows the routine, and I stopped myself like, no, this is her mom's routine. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay, that's how she wants to get into this whole dancing thing. But just like the choice in music, I thought kind of helped. It will, if you really know hip hop music, then like, okay, these are pivotal songs in East Coast hip hop, actually in rap in general. So yeah, the music I thought was great. And then that final scene with the mom and the daughter and her little sister, I thought that pretty much summed up the whole film to me.
I gotta ask a question. For IDYP people, this might tie into that, but this might be a little too much behind the scenes. But when I'm preparing a piece of media for Book Retorts, I'm usually reading with an eye towards how I can make this funny or interesting or goofy, which is sort of the vibe we have there. And watching this movie, I was panic-stricken by the end, being like, how am I going to make this funny? Because there is, like I said, I have a very complicated relationship, I think, with this movie now, where, like I said, I liked it a lot, but I did not enjoy it, if that makes sense. Like, it's a movie I think that's very impactful, but not a fun thing or enjoyable to watch. I'm like, how am I going to go and spend an hour being silly and goofy about this incredibly hard story with these incredibly hard lives? And I don't know, did anyone else just have that moment of panic, or was I alone there?
Definitely alone.
No, Sam, I have that panic almost weekly. Anytime we watch a movie that I consider to be good, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell are we going to do? And it always just works out, you know? When you got Emily, it's going to turn out funny.
Hey! After having Emily on as a guest, true story.
Mm-hmm. I'm hilarious.
And if you guys can see my notes, I have a whole lot of unnecessary stuff on my notes. Like this is the cleanest salvage yard I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, right.
And then I have and then I've got written down, like, did I miss something in my childhood? Because there's a lot of underage drinking.
Yep.
It's just like, and then I had like day parties with a question mark. Like, who fucking has day parties?
What is this?
You mean day orgies? Let's be clear.
Yeah, that was some raunchy shit.
Yeah, and then all at the kitchen table where they eat, man. Like, come on, dude.
We fucking eat there.
Yeah, man.
Well, there's nowhere else to go in that place. It's a tiny apartment.
That's true.
Work with what you got.
He was working with what he had. All right.
He was.
Right next to the cutlery there. I don't know if I could do all that.
Oh, don't grab the wrong thing.
No.
Even though it sounds like we all like this movie, what was something bad that you saw in this movie? What was some bad?
I mean, I'm going to latch on to Sam's didn't like the ending. I was kind of disappointed. I was really hoping for something more. Although I also understand the realism theme throughout the movie, and so I can understand it, but I was really hoping for something more. I wanted some satisfaction, but as Danielle put it way better than I will, life fucking sucks.
I'm pretty sure that's not exactly what
you put it way better than
quote,
I did.
Danielle. Play the tape back, Danielle. Yep, that's the exact quote. I think I do agree with that. I also think that it was, there were some pacing issues I felt. I mean, this movie was a solid, like, it's 2 hours long. I mean, that's a real 2 hours. Like, there aren't that many end credits. It's at least an hour, 50 minutes of actual runtime. And I think you felt that a lot of times, where it felt like it sort of was slow to build and things were going very slowly. So I think it could have maybe been sped up or edited a little bit in a way to sort of trim it down a bit. But on the other hand, part of this movie is supposed to be like, oh, life is interminable. So there's that. I don't know if that's, like, again, the difference between enjoying something and it doing what it's like, what's intention is. I think it accomplishes intention very well. So maybe I'm just wrong about that.
I found all of the visual metaphors for her being trapped to be a little heavy-handed and a little too constant. Like, you had,
like, the hamster.
First of all, the hamster in the cage, the chained up horse. I mean, even the aspect ratio was scrunched to be that 1.33 to 1, the typical TV 4:3 from the olden days, to make you feel like the frame is cramped and this girl is trapped. But then there's also, like, the literal fish out of water being eaten, and the fact that she's in this empty room that has all these blue walls that looks out over the city, like she's a literal fish in a tank when she's in that room. It was just all too much for me.
Damn, Ben, you kind of took it to a whole nother spot there.
It's not a subtle movie, I will say. I'll agree with Ben. It's not a very subtle movie in a lot of ways.
Okay, whatever, Sam and Ben, who can figure out everything and Emily can't.
But I'm about to say, though, I don't know if it needs to be subtle. Like, this is the part where I'm really struggling with this movie is because you could argue all my criticism here about this movie, about it not being subtle, about it not having like a good character, having like a strong character arc, about it being, somewhat slow and not feeling like it's making a lot of progress. Like, that is just life, and that may be the intention it's trying to convey. And, so there is an argument to be made that all of that is fine, because life isn't particularly subtle or fast-paced or actiony or, satisfying.
I'm going to tie into what Ben said. The horse really bothered me in that her original scene, she's trying to release the horse. And immediately, not that I necessarily disagree with, a horse having better living conditions, but I was also like, where's the horse going to go? Right. It's in the city in a trailer park. Like, if you release the horse, it's not going to live a better life. It's getting hay. It has like people who are taking care of it. It's going to go wander the city streets. Like, I didn't understand it was such a 15-year-old plan. And then I didn't even think about it being a metaphor until maybe the second time she went to the horse. And I was like, oh, this is supposed to signify something. I get it.
There was a brief fleeting moment, and this is my weird.
Really bothered me.
Or one of them, where I thought that her picking up that brick, she was going to bash in the skull of the horse. Like, I thought she picked up that brick to kill the horse. So that would have been a very different movie after that point.
I actually looked away for something. I looked back and she's like banging on something on the ground. I'm like, what is she killing? Like, what's going on in this movie? And then I was like, oh, wait, she's trying to get this horse free. It had that vibe. I would agree, Ben.
Was there any other weird that you guys noticed?
Oh, yeah, I got one.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The scene where she breaks into the house and then she pees on the floor.
Oh, yes. And I blocked that out. I completely blocked that out of my mind because I'm like, this just isn't happening.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I disagreed with the concept of somebody like being angry at the situation and peeing on the floor, because why not? Sure, destruction of property. But the way that it was built up, I just was surprised. Like, she was like, she got really frustrated. She's watching the video. She wanders around them and just squats and pees. And I was like, what are you doing?
I didn't think it was like an angry, intentional pee. And I can't believe we're going to go into breaking down the peeing on the floor scene to this detail. But buckle up, because we're doing this. I did not see it as an angry, intentional pee. I saw it more like a flight or fight pee, where she was just like getting overwhelmed, so overwhelmed she just sort of like squatted down, just like it was like a catharsis kind of a release. Because she goes and washes her face afterwards, is like, what just happened kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how I took it too. I took it the same way. Yeah.
Right. I took that originally when I watched it, that's what I was thinking, like fight or flight, or like she suddenly really had to go to the bathroom. I actually rewound the entire scene because I was like, did I miss what's going on? I did not understand it when I was watching it.
I don't understand it either. It is incredibly weird, you're right. And it's a choice that was made. And again, in a movie full of really bad choices, it was definitely one of them.
I think the only really bad choice was Ja Rule. I didn't realize how bad that song was until now. That Ja Rule song was so bad. And I like Ja Rule, and that song was terrible. I forgot all about that song.
This movie, I think, had a lot of weird in it. Like, you say, what's the weird? I think it has, like, the whole tone is very weird. And partially because it's supposed to be from a teenager perspective, and, teenagers are weird. We were all weird as teenagers. I don't think I could go back and even look at my own perspective as a teenager and be like, oh, that seems healthy and normal. So, I don't know. Like, it's hard to pick out any particular weirdness for me beyond just, like, the overarching atmosphere of this movie.
Well, let's put a cork in this thing, and we'll start with Sam. Sam, give us your final review of Fish Tank.
I would say final review of Fish Tank. Let me see if I can tie it into a fish joke somehow. Okay, I've got it for you. Like fish and chips, it's very British, kind of greasy, good, but not always good for you. I don't know. Okay. I like the movie. I think it's a good movie, but it's not a fun or enjoyable movie. It's like it feels like an important movie, if not a, like it's not like a classic book where you read it and you're like, oh, this is important because of its context and the meaning and the world it's like describing, and not necessarily because I'm enjoying this experience on a level that makes me fun, makes me want to like go back and watch it again for the fun of it.
Danielle?
I agree that this movie is really well done, visually interesting. Like very, like I said earlier, very lived in this experience, and I believed it was this 15-year-old perspective. I actually started watching this movie. I was like, this tone is much different than most movies. And I paused it. And then I read a review online because I was curious. I didn't spoil myself. I just read a general review and then went back to it. I'm like, oh, this movie is like really important. It won awards. It's like, it's in top lists. Like it's a thing. It's like an important movie, coming of age story. And so I was trying to watch it more like critically as I went through it. And I still, even knowing that it was like good and that it was critically acclaimed, the first half, like I said earlier, the first half of this movie, I was having such a hard time getting through it. I wanted to be living in it, and I thought it was doing its job. And I just, for the life of me, I just couldn't settle into it. And I'm usually really good with slice of life stuff. I like slice of life stuff. I don't mind settling into somebody's lived experience. And I was just having a hard time with it. And then, like I said, the second half really definitely kind of picked up and caught my attention a bit more. And overall, I wouldn't watch it again, but I enjoyed and understood why it was such a good movie.
3 out of 5 stars, raves Danielle.
Oh, gosh, that was really hard. It was a hard watch.
Brandon?
Definitely wouldn't watch it again. And that's not a bad thing. I think this is one of those films you watch once and you feel it because you're not going to feel the same way the second time around.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I understand why it's on that list. Yeah, I mean, Fassbender, man. He's just good in everything. So, yeah, I don't know. That's probably all I got. I mean, again, the cinematography is always, the handheld stuff is always good to me. I always like it.
Emily?
I think anyone who loves film and is a film critic needs to see this movie. But I completely agree with the rest of you. That was the first thing that I said. I cannot watch this again. I would love to see scenes spliced together to give me just like that feeling again. But I can't get through this movie again knowing how the plot works out and knowing the abuse and the sexual assault that happens. It's a hard movie to get through, and I'm glad I watched it, but I don't want to watch it again ever. But probably one of the top movies I've seen so far in 2010.
I hope this doesn't become a recurring thing with Brandon when we have him on, that it's a movie that like we watch and we're like, I don't want to tell anybody about this movie or that I watched it. Like we had with Drew Valentine. I did like the movie. I thought it was very well made. It's not something I'll ever return to, but it is definitely something that was at least an engaging watch for the first time. And if you're going to watch it for anything, watch it for the really strong acting that's on display within this thing.
Don't watch this movie if you're in a really vulnerable place where you're like, yeah, advice. This is not a movie that's going to make you feel better about your life.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get that idea?
I just try to think creatively.
Okay, Twitslight. Number 1. How would you envision your dance audition to go? I want to know, what's the song? What's your outfit? What's the style of dance? Also, do you mistakenly go to an erotic dancing audition? And then do you just roll with it? I gotta know.
Oh, I imagine for me, this would be a disaster.
Oh, you don't want to see Sam dance.
Hey, that's not very nice.
I knew you in high school.
Well, okay, sure, but still. I mean, it's not untrue.
It's a picture where we went to prom or something, and it was like you and like 8 girls.
Yeah.
Aww.
And I was there with exactly none of them. This is very hard. I guess the only thing I would have to do, I think, if I had to do this, would be the only dance I think I actually know and I've ever really done at all, which is what I've done at every wedding in the past, which is obviously going to be the hora.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
So I would obviously go in there with klezmer music.
Yep.
I'm not sure what I would wear. Probably my wedding clothes, like the suit and outfit I wear to a wedding, because it's the only thing I've ever danced the hora in, which might be a little out of place. But if this was like an erotic audition by mistake, or even not by mistake, I would definitely go for it, because they're brave enough to put me up there dancing the freaking hora with klezmer music, and then you know I'm going to go for it.
Oh, I love it, dog. I love it. It's so cool. All right, that's all you, Ben. I got nothing.
Oh man, I'm gonna pick Brandon's dance then. I'm gonna say what I think Brandon should do. First of all, he's definitely going in. He's definitely going into an exotic dancing place. Like, there's no mistakenly here. Like, that's where he's going to wind up. And
No doubt,
he's
no
gonna throw on Flow Rider's Right Round. You know, with up on top of the pole, I watch it go down. Yeah, that's Brandon's song. And he's going to be, if you've seen SNL, the Mango character, where it's got like a crop top and bare midriff and then really short shorts, that's what Brandon's going to be rocking.
Wow.
Right. The most self-conscious black man with his body. Yeah, I got it.
You can't be self-conscious when that song's on, though, Brandon, and you're dressed like that. Like, you're ready.
Can't be. Yeah. Can't be. Like that and Meg the Stallion, you got to go hard. Either way,
yeah, that's right.
It comes on. Once you start hearing Bust It, you got to just drop it. That's how it goes.
I think we should hear from Danielle now, because you were kind of calling me out, so I think it's your turn.
Oh my gosh. You were calling it out yourself as you were talking.
It's different if I say it.
How does that go? This is hard. Oh no, I know what I'd do. I would dance to Push It. Because it's my jam and I love it, and every time it comes on I'm like, yeah. I would definitely dance at the exotic dancing contest thing. What is this? Like, where you're...
Are you okay?
The rehearsal, where you maybe get to be on the show.
The audition.
There's the word. And I would, even if I was mistakenly there, I would still dance to it, because why not? You know, you only live once, and it's Push It. I mean, why would you not want to dance to that everywhere you go?
Dance, magic dance for Emily over here.
Yay!
Give me some David Bowie and Muppets.
Are you gonna wear leather pants?
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes, at the best.
It's the perfect look.
Exactly. Number two. So Michael Fassbender, Ben, you called out his personal trainer as the winner of this movie. Thinking about how Michael Fassbender just like scooped up Mia and, tucked her into bed. I gotta know, for each of you, who do you want to put you to bed and tuck you in?
Can it not be Michael Fassbender?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, we'll all agree Michael Fassbender for sure, number one. But beyond that,
I mean, call back to the last time Sam was on. I got to go with Nick Cage.
Yes, such a good choice.
Yeah. All I can imagine right now is Nicolas Cage is just watching you sleep with his face inches from your own.
Creepily, too.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, like in the movies where they see the eyes open and you just see the face staring at you and you're like, oh, what is it?
He's like, hey, are you awake?
Oh, man.
Aside from Nick Cage, I think I'd have to go with Fabio as my choice.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I can just imagine myself like in his big, safe arms. Like, I think I feel very safe in his arms. And I'd be like cradled in them against his bare chest, like some kind of romance novel cover, which would be really nice. Well, what about you, Brandon?
Gosh, I don't know. Next to my wife. My wife's a very tall woman.
I mean, Tisa could probably easily tuck you into bed.
Definitely tuck me in. She probably has. I just didn't realize it. I wake up and like, how did my pants come off? I know, I did cheat. So this is a very well-known thing. I love Jill Scott. Jill Scott could look at me funny, my pants would fall off. I don't know how it happened. Like, if there's any woman that can definitely talk you out of your drawers, it's Jill Scott. And like, I think Jill Scott is like the person that could pick me up and carry me. She can carry me right into the sun. I don't care. It's Jill Scott. So.
Did Danielle have someone? I missed it.
I didn't have anybody.
That's okay.
Just like real life.
Oh, why was that necessary?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All I said was you couldn't dance.
No. Look, Anyone would be honored to tuck you in, Danielle. They should be so lucky.
God, no. Okay, moving on.
See, I know that he's not alive anymore, and I know that he had like really bad back problems and probably couldn't have done it, but I've always wanted Andre the Giant to be able to cradle me.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Do you want it, Danielle? Do you want the answer?
I mean, we could all use Andre the Giant.
Yes, he'll take both of us.
Yeah, one under each arm.
All four of us, it'd be fine.
Okay, number 3. Please don't take this one seriously. What is the best strategy to kidnap a child?
You need a strategy?
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
The movie clearly showed that it was not that hard. Like, you just use her name.
They're children. All you have to do is grab them. They're not like, they're small, they're light, they're weak. You just walk up to them and you just put a hand over them with an arm and grab them, run off. It's called kidnapping, not like a kid coaxing. I mean, all you gotta do is snatch one off the street. It's like, why is this any strategy at all? They're not gonna outthink you. They're just children.
I've got a whole strategy.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so...
I'm not surprised.
I mean, you know your daughter.
Yeah, I know my daughter. So the best way to kidnap a kid is to have the kid kidnap themselves. And here's how I do it.
Okay.
So I'm going to ship the child a box of materials to build their own clubhouse, because kids love building stuff and they love clubhouses. And once he's in that clubhouse, he will realize that it's actually a shipping crate, and the child will be shipped straight to me. And I will raise the kid as my own, and I will be deemed a hero for finding this kid. I didn't kidnap him. He showed up on my doorstep, and I took him in.
What?
How did the kid get shipped to you?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Okay, so it's in the box. Then what? Shipped, like, walked the box to the post office? Did you, like, to pick him up?
Yeah, he built it on the corner of his road, like by the mailbox, his clubhouse.
What?
Why? Are there like plans in there? It says specifically where they need to build it on their property.
There has to be, yeah. Well, it's a clubhouse / lemonade stand.
What? But like, why would he get in the box? He's not going to study lemonade from inside the thing.
Well, he's not, but he doesn't know that.
Okay. Sure.
Great.
Oh, man.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
Well, let's play a game before we go. This game is going to be played by everybody today, and we are bringing back America's favorite game, Castaway.
Shall we play a game?
I despise guessing games.
This great game. Makes you think and it helps your memory.
Let the games begin.
Okay, so for those who have not heard of this game, I'm going to give you the year a movie comes out, followed by 4 of the top billed cast members from the movie, starting with the lowest billed and moving toward the top billed. If you can guess the movie after the year, you get 5 points, 4 points for 4th billed, 3 points for 3rd, and so on. Each game will have a theme, and this week's theme is Fish Stank.
I want to be on Danielle's team, I call it.
Why?
There's no teams.
You're good at
You're
this.
all on your own.
You're good at this, Danielle, that's why.
And the rule is you
I'm not
gotta
good at
say
this
your
game.
name first.
Yep, say your name. So all of the movies will either have a fish in them or in the title. First one, 2003.
Emily.
Go ahead.
Finding Nemo?
Incorrect.
Damn it! I went for it. I just went for it. Damn it.
Okay. 4th build, Steve Buscemi. Marion Cotillard.
Say your name.
Sam.
Sam, go ahead.
This is that Ron Perlman movie where he plays like the I can't remember the name, the red guy, and he's like a monster or something. Why can't I remember the name of this movie? It's like, what's it called? Well, tell me, Emily. What is it?
I can't guess again, but I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about too.
All right, what is that movie though? I know it's not that. But what is it?
It's not that.
It's not Hellboy.
Hellboy, yes.
3rd build was Marion Cotillard. Helena Bonham Carter.
is this movie?
Ewan McGregor.
Oh my God.
Oh, Brandon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it Big Fish?
It is Big Fish.
Oh.
Yes.
No, I didn't
God
see
fucking
that.
damn it.
Good job, Brandon.
Okay, but 2003 Finding Nemo is a pretty good. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Next one, 2004. Angelina Jolie. Renee Zellweger. Robert De Niro. Will Smith.
I don't know
Last
enough
clue,
Will
it's
Smith movies.
animated.
Oh, Emily.
Damn it!
Go ahead.
Shark Tale.
Correct.
You beat me to
I
it.
got a point. Or a half a point.
I was trying to imagine all those
half a
actors
point.
actually in a movie together. I was like, what?
I couldn't get a Tomb Raider out of my head for whatever reason.
I don't think has fish in it, but I could be wrong.
I think there's like a water and a shark at what it counts, fine.
Next one, 1988.
Sam.
Go ahead, Sam.
A fish called Wanda.
Correct.
That's what I was going to say. You beat me.
Eat it.
Good movie.
I
job,
love that
Sam.
movie.
The only one we actually all knew.
Yeah.
So 2010. Adam Scott. Richard Dreyfuss.
I don't know who that is.
Jerry O'Connell.
I don't know who that is either.
Elizabeth Shue.
Aren't you in love with her, Ben?
Who isn't in love with
I
Elizabeth
am.
Shue?
Sam.
Yeah, go Sam.
This is wrong. I'm not gonna say it anyway. It's the only movie I know Elizabeth Shue's been in recently. Hamlet 2.
Incorrect. That's a good guess though.
What year is it again? It was what year?
2010.
Brandon.
Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
Sharknado.
Incorrect, but you're along the right line there.
I thought of that too.
Oh.
3.
Oh,
Two.
Piranha
Piranha.
3D?
It is Piranha. Yep.
Fuck.
Well,
I
they
just thought
don't
that.
get it.
No, we don't.
They
Danielle,
don't get it.
Piranha.
No.
Yeah,
Gets a point
Danielle
for
with the
Piranha.
scoop.
Good job, Danielle. Okay, next one. 2009. Tina Fey. Matt Damon. Noah Cyrus. Kate Blanchett. Last hint, this is a dubbed animated movie.
Oh.
Sam.
Go ahead, Sam.
Is this Ponyo?
It is Ponyo.
Fuck you, Sam. I was going to get that.
But you didn't.
I didn't say my name before you.
Gotta buzz in.
Next one, 1999. LL Cool J.
Oh, Sam.
Go ahead, Sam.
Deep Blue Sea?
Correct.
That's it. I couldn't think
Oh
of
my
the
god, I
name
can't
of
believe I
it.
didn't get that.
I
I'm
couldn't-
so
That was like a
glad I did
shark
it
fin,
myself.
guys. Come on.
I thought I was even singing the song too, and I was like, damn, I know this is now.
Okay, 2018. Cliff Curtis. Rainn Wilson. Bing Bing Lee. And Jason Statham.
Oh, Brandon.
Go ahead, Brandon.
The Meg.
Correct.
Oh.
Good job,
Oh,
Brandon.
yeah, that's a movie.
Okay, next one.
I don't know
2016.
any of these.
Caitlin Olsen. Ed O'Neill.
Emily?
Go ahead, Emily.
I have no idea. Finding Dory. I don't know.
Correct.
Hey!
I knew it was 2016 because my students just watched it.
Yep. Last one. 1997. Willie Nelson. Roxana Arquette.
I don't know. Emily.
Go ahead, Emily.
I don't know.
The
Emily
Little
either.
Mermaid.
No, it's not The Little Mermaid.
Damn it! I knew it was the 90s.
Little Mermaid was the 80s.
Is a mermaid a fish?
I think it's like 80s.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
there are
I
other
watched it in
fish
the
though in
90s.
Little Mermaid. Like there's other fish.
Yeah, but
flounder's a
I
fish.
still want to answer the question: is a mermaid a fish? Like, are we trying to
No.
like? I just always wondered: is it a is like a whale? Because it
No,
don't
it's a
have the
half fish.
surface
It's
to
either
breathe.
a phi or a sh.
All right.
Okay, so we got 1997, Willie Nelson, Roxana Arquette. Next one is Danny Glover. Last one, Joe Pesci. 3, 2, 1. It's Gone Fishing.
Oh.
No.
Anyone seen Gone Fishing?
Nope.
No.
Making fun of me for not knowing what year The Little Mermaid comes out. Fuck you, Ben.
I wasn't making fun of you. I was just pointing it out.
Whatever. Same thing.
Well, Sam ran away with that. Great job, Sam.
Yay!
Yeah, nice
Good job,
job.
Sam.
Ooh.
That fish called Wanda really made it not close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great movie. Great point. Good job, Sam.
Before you guys go, first of all, thank you for being on with us today. Sam, why don't you plug Book Retorts one last time? Let us know where we can catch you guys.
Oh gosh, Book Retorts is a podcast. If you like me on this podcast, you'll probably like Book Retorts. There's a lot more of Danielle there to help balance it out, so you can appreciate that. You can find Book Retorts anywhere at our website, bookretorts.com, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever. It's a podcast where Danielle and I take turns sharing weird media we find, trying to describe to the other person, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. We encourage you to check it out.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We do appreciate your support and your willingness to come on and hang out with us.
Oh, gosh, it's our pleasure.
Anytime.
Well, next week we'll be escaping this recent glut of heavy movies by watching the DreamWorks animation movie How to Train Your Dragon.
Why was I here for that one?
Because Brandon gets all the heavy films. That's why.
That's right.
Everything I get is heavy and brooding.
Right. And I just slogged through this amazing but very distressing movie. How to Train Your Dragon? That's a great movie. I'm mad now.
Brandon, your next movie is the Yorgos Lanthimos movie Dogtooth. So you get another heavy one next time.
I know. I looked at that. Here's the thing. I looked at all the trailers that I've never seen movies of, and I'm like, man, dude, like, I'm gonna be depressed like half the summer.
Maybe it's just 2010. Maybe this is just like a depressing year.
Maybe this is like a Mystery Science Theater thing where Ben is trying to conduct an experiment on Brandon by exposing him to various depressing movies.
No, that's exactly what he's doing.
Well, we will be having Connor and Luke from No Highway Option with us next week, and it's always a good time when those two join us. And Luke is actually be on for the first time. We've had Connor on multiple times before, one of our favorites, and Luke is going to be able to join us for the first time. So check us out next week with that.
And please remember to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IDYP_podcast or email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com. I almost forgot our email. And to wrap up our IDYP special episode with Book Retorts, Sam, in your best British Daniel Day-Lewis impression, please end the episode by saying, I drink your podcast, I drink it up.
Who's Daniel Day-Lewis?
Oh my gosh, Sam. Now nobody's going to listen to Book Retorts.
Oh, no. Yes, I drink your podcast. I drink it up. I did him like a Dracula. I assumed he was a Dracula.
If he was British, he would be Dracula. I love it.
Yes.
That was
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.